Hey there, city builders. Kodiak the Kodiak here. Hold on tight because we're diving headfirst into the mesmerizing world of climate and seasons in City Skylines II. In the latest developer diary, we're in for a wild ride as we explore all the new weather mechanics and disasters that will have you on the edge of your seat. I'm beyond thrilled to see what the developers at Colossal Order have in store for us. From the catastrophic disasters to ever-changing weather patterns, this is going to be an exhilarating roller coaster ride of challenges and excitement for the new game. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe, hit that like button, and turn on notifications so you can stay up to date on all the incredible surprises that await us in City Skylines II. All right, my fellow urban visionaries, let's weather the storm and create the cities of the future. Okay, before we get started, I just want you guys click on the little annotation up here and check out my Let's Build series, which has been super fun. Come check it out. Anyways, this video is a little on the shorter side, but this is a brand new mechanic, so all the information around it is pretty important. The dev diary contains a lot more, the written portion of it, so if you guys are excited and want to learn more rather than just looking at the video and being like, there's not a lot here, make sure you stay tuned for the written portion of this video because there is a lot of information over there. So let's get started.
Life in a thriving city can be a whirlwind. Sunny moments of joy and laughter can cloud over as stormier times roll in.
So I want to pause right here and I want to pay attention to that transition. Now, I don't know if that's how weather is going to transition, if it's just going to be like a simple crossfade between sunny days and rainy days, or if they did that in post. We have no idea whether it will simply transition between different times. So like if it'll go from just a sunny winter day to like a snowstorm in the blink of an eye, right? Because obviously storms can just roll in at any point, but we have no idea how that transition will occur. So right now, that's my assumption is how things are going to go through. It's just going to slowly fade in like over the course of like 5 seconds, right? But we don't know. So something to keep an eye out for in future dev diary videos.
It's impossible to forecast. Luckily, the weather in your city will be more predictable, as each map has a unique...
One thing they did not disappoint on in City Skylines 2 is the lighting. These wide shots look awesome. First off, this is a tree. It's just a weird pausing texture issue, I promise. Don't pay attention to that. The lighting, though, like I know some people really don't like the ground textures. They think they're a little smooth and bland and disappointing, but the lighting is definitely not something to squander about.
Reliable seasonal patterns. Maps in City Skylines 2 are inspired by real-world locations, so your city's climate will be unique to that place. The climate dictates how each of the 4 seasons looks and feels. As one season gives way to the next, the length of the day will change. The amount of sunshine and cloud cover will too. Temperatures will vary.
Okay, so one thing I'm going to pause here. It was something I kind of realized when I was looking at this building, and I think we'll see this more as we look at more of the buildings. Now, obviously, this is 3 of the same building. They're probably next to one another. But if we look at the billboards on them, they're all the same on each building. And I believe the billboards represent the building the company that actually occupies said building. And it wasn't something that clicked in my brain. Maybe it clicked in yours, but that didn't click in my brain until I saw this. So I can't really see. This is like Shop Late. This business is called Shop Late. And I think that if you clicked on this building, that would be the company that occupies this building. So that's pretty interesting. I didn't think about that when looking at any of the previous dev diaries, that like the billboards represent which building is actually occupying it. And that's why like some signature buildings that look really cool have ugly billboards on it. And that's just to show you what business occupies it. So that way you can just look at a glance and say, this is a movie theater, or this is a late night tourist shop, or this is a video game store, right? So you kind of know what your customer base is for that building at a quick glance.
And so will precipitation. Why is
there's
this so
another
important?
Smooth transition.
Weather will impact your city in
but then I went to winter,
ways.
so then you don't know.
Rainy, snowy.
All right, and then I just want to pause right here. This scene isn't super important. They're just talking about how weather affects your power grid, which we'll discuss a little bit in the dev diary, the written portion. But I want you guys to look down here. I'll zoom in and post at the 3 icons over here on the right. So we have Chirper, we have the people, and then we have this written notepad. And that's going to be something that they bring up in the written portion. So I just want you guys to know that that's there. So when we talk about it later, you know what it is.
And sun-soaked days can pile pressure on your electricity grid. Same for city services, which will need to respond. Like in winter, road maintenance crews power up plows to clear the road network of snow before it causes collisions. If city services don't respond in time or do what needs to be done, accident rates can rise with the knock-on effect of overstretching emergency crews.
Which makes sense. There are certain aspects of this that I'm just going to let them talk and not pause. See, this is another example of this, right? We have spin-off, and it just makes me feel like that's the occupying company of this building. But there's going to be sections where, like, large sections where I don't talk throughout this dev diary, and it's because they go into greater detail in the actual written portion. So I'd rather just let you guys experience it, look at the wide shots, look at what's going on, listen to what she's saying. So that's what makes this week's maybe a little different.
Seasonal weather also affects how people move around your city and where they spend their time. Parks
Also, this man's wearing a golden suit, a golden jumpsuit. Respect.
Will draw crowds when the sun is out, while restaurants, movie theaters, and other indoor spots will get busy fast when it rains. Of course, extreme seasonal weather can turn life upside down in a flash. You can help your city prepare.
So this is the disaster control panel. So these are your 3 disaster control buildings. We have a weather radar of some kind, a large shelter, and a small shelter. And if you see right here, we have shelter availability 100%. There's clearly multiple shelters, but you can see there's only 26,000 shelter capacity, but we have almost 100,000 people. So I'm not too sure in terms of like how much you actually need for your city, but you don't need to cover every citizen in shelters. So that's pretty nice.
Prepare for natural disasters with disaster control systems, but there's no stopping them. Your city might experience disasters with a lower
I want you to watch
speed.
this.
That's when disasters cause traffic accidents that clog road networks. Disasters.
Okay, let's go. First off, there's the tornado.
That's when disasters cause traffic accidents that clog
Something
road
that
networks.
really bothered me when I saw this is why is there a human being walking down the inside lane of the freeway here with their 2 dogs? What's going on here? Why is that a thing? I don't like that. I'm very uncomfortable by this. That's so, first off, dangerous. Secondly, if this car hits that person, do they need medical attention? Something we still don't know with car wrecks is if the car hits a sim while they're walking, is their AI fast enough to move out of the way? Do they know enough to actually do that, or do they become part of the accident? Is the game coded advanced enough to actually hurt them, or does it just go clip through them basically, right? There's also another accident up here, so that just signals that the roads are really bad.
Disasters with a cap.
Also, here's the tornado. Let me know down in the comments how you guys feel about these tornadoes. They look a lot different than City Skylines 1 tornadoes. City Skylines 1 tornadoes look like the tornadoes kind of from like the Day After Tomorrow movie, right? Where there's like a pure cyclone. Whereas these ones look maybe a bit more realistic. I definitely there's just a bunch of volumetric clouds that are just kind of populating this, right? But, in real life, a lot of times you can't like really see the real funnel of the tornado. They just look like big dust clouds, or like, a tornado hit my hometown last May, and all of the video footage of it, all you can see is the rain. It's just like there's just a wall of rain. You can't tell that it's a funnel. So there is like an element of realism to this. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments below, and also let me know if you guys are going to play with disasters. First off, helps the algorithm. Secondly, I'm just kind of curious.
Capital D are a whole lot more serious. They impact city services.
Another cool thing that they highlighted in this is that when you hover over any of these icons on buildings, I don't know if we touched on this in other dev diaries, but it actually tells you why the icon's there, like what the icon is. So this is the weather damage icon and how to fix it, or like what the issue is, right? So the structure has been damaged by bad weather. So you need to fix the structure. I think that's pretty interesting. I don't know if that was a thing in City Skylines 1, but if it wasn't, I like that they've added it.
Services and the local economy in the short and long term. As a city builder, it's up to you to help your city bounce back when nature is a bit extra. But for the most part, seasonal changes will be predictable. Winter will run its course and give way to spring, just as night will follow day. The day and night cycle connects to the calendar.
Ooh, fun
when a
segue.
day-night cycle ends, one calendar month will have
Look at that
passed.
Aurora Borealis.
So
They really went hard on the Aurora Borealis in some of these shots. Also, I don't know if you guys have like noticed, the last dev diary is going to be on the cinematic camera, kind of. I think all these shots were maybe taken with the in-game cinematic camera, which if they were, I'm a big fan of how the cinematic camera has been looking.
Every 24 hours, a month of the year will have come and gone. The seasons will change after 3 cycles. And after 12 cycles, it's time to start all
So that's important to know, that a single in-game day is a month, 12 in-game days is a year. So
over again. The city
They also mentioned in the written portion of the dev diary, I know we're going to talk about it, but every 3 in-game days is a season. So,
Citizens of your city.
Also, shout out to Thorn in the Discord who pointed this one out. Chemtrail chemicals. I laughed very hard when I saw that the first time.
Will experience life's highs and lows like the shifting seasons. Good times and bad will come and go. By building your city's unique climate, you can create
Look at that shot.
the backdrop for life lived to its fullest.
Love the aurora borealis. And the sun's just like setting there, and gosh, that looks so good. Anyways, that's the end of the video. It's a little short, but this is a totally new mechanic, and the written portion of it is going to have a ton of details on how everything actually works. So let's move over there. Okay, before we get into the written portion, I just want to let you guys know that about 80% of the people who watch this channel aren't subscribed, and about 50% of the people who watch these dev diaries actually make it through to at least the midway point where we are right now. So if you guys haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do so. It helps a ton. Also drop a like, maybe just do an algorithm helping comment down below. Anything I ask or talk about helps an absolute ton. If you guys haven't checked out my build series yet, please do that. And if you're looking to pre-order City Skylines 2, you guys can look down below in the description and actually purchase it from Humble Bundle, which a portion of your sale for the game actually goes towards charity. If you use my referral link, a portion of that sale actually goes to the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. So it would be super cool if you guys use that link. And I think there might be sliders where you can determine how much goes to charity and how much goes to me. If you guys want to support the channel, though, you guys can just purchase it straight through my link. They're official codes. They're not stolen or anything like some other sites. It's very official, very above board. So if that's something that's interesting to you guys, also I do have merch down below if you guys want to check out my website. It's just kodiakthekodiak.com. So anyways, let's get into the written portion. Okay, here we go into the written portion. As usual, I highlighted all the important stuff, and a lot of this stuff this week is just huge paragraphs of yellow because there's a lot of new information. These are entirely new mechanics that we're dealing with here. So let's move into it. In City Skylines, maps had different themes that changed the visual atmosphere and environment to represent different climates. So we had the Boreal theme, the Temperate theme, the European theme, and the Tropical theme. That was it, the tropical theme. But maps using the same thing would work the same, meaning two Boreal cities would experience the same climate or length of day. In City Skylines 2, we have replaced that system with a whole new feature in the form of climates. It brings changing seasons to the game and makes each map a unique gaming experience with its own climate that is based on real-world locations, ranging from the Finnish countryside in the north to Brisbane in the south. Climate controls the changing seasons, length of day, and the weather patterns, so they match the seasons and latitude of the map. So we haven't seen the map editor yet. We have, which I'm a little disappointed on, that we haven't got to see anything to do with the map editor at all, because, you know, map creation's pretty big, important part of this modded Cities Skylines experience, I guess. Even a lot of people who play vanilla will still use workshop maps. So, a little disappointed. But that being said, it does seem like you maybe have to punch in a latitude when you are making the map, so that way it actually gets a realistic climate data for it, which is actually pretty cool. So we also look at some of these thumbnail shots. So this one and the next one, it looks like there's like some railing here, and this doesn't look like any of the fences that we've seen in the game. It looks like it could be like off the bow of a ship maybe, or maybe this is like off of a lighthouse or like a pier. It looks a little too low to maybe be a lighthouse, but it doesn't look like a fence I've seen before in City Skylines or any kind of railing from any of the pedestrian bridges or anything like that. So I find this very interesting, and it's pretty cool to see that if we are on the bow of a ship, I'm interested to see more of what the cinematic camera has to offer, at least in the last dev diary that will come right before the game launches. So if we move down here to climate and weather, climates are based on the latitude and longitude, resulting in differences in the length of day and the amount of sunlight, as well as other elements such as temperature range, the amount of cloud coverage, and precipitation. Those parameters mean all maps will introduce different climates with 4 distinct seasons. So if you wanted to build a realistic city based on Berlin, for example, or Shanghai, as they will mention in this dev diary, you could actually have a realistic climate for that city, which is really cool. Climates can be ground into 3 basic climate types that act as the foundation for each map's unique characteristics. Maps based on the temperate climate have distinct seasonal changes, moderate precipitation, and a wide temperature range, while maps with the continental climate type introduce significant annual variations in temperature. Lastly, we have polar regions, which feature short and cold summer and long-lasting cold winter. You may recognize which category a map falls into based on its displayed temperature range. But as climates are customized for each map, you'll experience significant differences between maps that fall into the continental group. So my guess is that the continental group can range anywhere between, a tropical coastal map to a desert map in terms of precipitation. So I find that very interesting. Again, we have no idea how this is going to flesh out. We have no idea. They're being very vague here, and I don't know if that means that we can actually realistically do a desert map or a rainy tropical map. But they're leaving it vague for a reason, so maybe you can. I don't know. Fun fact, many maps' climates are based on real-world locations. For example, River Delta is based on Shanghai, which is pretty cool, and Lakeland is based on the Finnish city of Savonlinna? Dude, you guys know I'm butchering that, so if you guys want to put a pronunciation down in the comments for the algo and for my own well-being, please do so. All right, then this next section right here, the weather has gameplay effects. For example, temperature and the amount of rain or sun affects citizens' behavior and where they're deciding to go if they want to park or indoor leisure activities. So basically what that's saying is depending, and we've learned this before when we were learning about citizen pathfinding and stuff like that, is that if it's raining, they don't want to park far away and they want to do indoor activities. And if it's sunny and nice out, they are okay with walking a longer way away and they'd rather go to an outdoor park. Citizens prefer indoor activities when the temperature is low or it's raining. Temperature also realistically affects the city's energy consumption, with hot weather increasing the energy consumption as the city needs air conditioning to keep cool. In cold weather, the city needs heating, causing energy consumption to increase again. These are things they've kind of hinted at or maybe even talked about before, but I figured I would bring it up again. I forgot to highlight this section, so I did it just now. With both a day and night cycle and seasons at release, City Skylines II handles time differently than its predecessor. One cycle through day or night equals 1 month, and each season lasts about 3 months, so 3 days. 1 year in-game taking 12 in-game days. Again, makes total sense. The length of the day-night cycle is based on the map's climate and the current season, with nights being longer during the winter as the sun sets, the building lights and street lights come on, lighting the way for citizens. Obviously, we kind of know that, but the map's location plays an important role when it comes to seasons, as the cities are located in the southern hemisphere experience seasons opposite time of year compared to the northern hemisphere. So if you didn't know that, it's summer here in the northern hemisphere and it's winter in the southern hemisphere. So, I just figured that would be important to maybe talk about. Like in City Skylines, the game speed is adjustable with 3 speed options to choose from, as well as an option to pause the game at any time. I figured that would be pretty obvious, but when the game is playing at normal speed, the in-game day is a bit over an hour in real life. So to do an entire year in City Skylines going at normal speed. So 1 year of City Skylines at normal speed is about 12 hours of constant playtime. Now, it does say when the game is playing at normal speed. So at the highest speed, the in-game day is 1/3 the normal speed in real life. So what I think that they're alluding to then is it's 1/3 the time. So if it takes 12 hours, it would take 1/3 of that. So it would take about 4 hours at 3 times speed. So it would still take you 4 hours to do an entire year in your City Skylines 2 city. That's pretty crazy. So the next is on natural disasters, and I think that even if you're playing with natural disasters turned off, there is some mechanics to natural disasters, or for example, with the natural disasters DLC, there were still certain buildings you can build even with natural disasters turned off that actually act as a benefit to your citizens' happiness and overall well-being. So my assumption is that probably applies here, so it's still important to look and listen to what this has to offer, even if you're never going to play with it on. Beyond the normal weather phenomenons, City Skylines 2 includes natural disasters, adding random events and challenging gameplay. Disasters can be switched on or off when starting a new game or loading into an existing save. While you can prepare for possible natural disasters with disaster control systems, they cannot be avoided completely. So you just can't dodge a tornado, right? Maybe in a futuristic DLC. Disasters might cause traffic accidents that lead to traffic jams, which can further affect your service's ability to respond to the disaster. They can cause damage to buildings and citizens directly hit by the disaster, which burdens healthcare, death care, and rescue services and causes disruptions to the companies or services housed in the affected buildings. Natural disasters are logged in the event journal, which can be found on the right side panel of the main UI. That's what I was talking about. I think that little like pencil with the squiggly like notepad that I told you, like, hey, pay attention to this for later. I think that's what they're talking about. At least that makes the most sense. So. The journal includes past events in chronological order and information about what happened, when it happened, and what the outcome of the event had. So that's something that's pretty interesting. That was not something they obviously had in City Skylines 1. So that's just like a brand new feature for disasters. So you can kind of get a log of like how many of your citizens died here, or like how many buildings were destroyed there, right? So they go through each of the disasters here. So let's go through them. First one's forest fire. All of the disasters except for hailstorm were in City Skylines 1's Natural Disasters DLC, for those of you who don't know. So forest fire. Forest fires can happen in all climates, though the risk of a forest fire happening is affected by the precipitation level and temperature. For example, dry weather has a higher risk of forest fires breaking out. So if you build a drier, arid city and you have a bunch of trees, there's a pretty high likelihood those trees might catch on fire. A forest fire near buildings can spread to them, causing building fires and wreaking havoc in the city. It is important to take care of the forest fires to prevent harm to the city. You can prepare for a forest fire by placing fire watch towers on the map. They decrease forest fire probability and firefighters' response time within their range. That's the same thing with City Skylines 1's Natural Disaster DLC. Fire trucks can extinguish a fire when it reaches the road network, but placing a firefighting helicopter depot on the city helps to put out the fire in places where trucks have no access. And this is really important. If we look at how fires kind of work in especially City Skylines 1, it's kind of a similar system where like if a fire is not near a road, a fire truck can't handle it. So if we know this, we know that we can place wind turbines not close to service roads, right? We can place them in the woods if we want to, and then just draw a power line over to the road. They don't have to be placed on the roadside, but you can place wind turbines on a roadside. However, if a fire hits a wind turbine and you're like early on in your city, a wildfire spins up and it hits that wind turbine, if you don't have a road access to it, your firefighters cannot put that thing out. So that's something really important to keep in mind if you're playing with disasters on, is if you put a wind turbine and it doesn't have a service road, good luck if it catches on fire. So the next one they're going to talk about is hailstorms. When the weather is cold but not freezing, there's a possibility of a hailstorm occurring. So not freezing. So if it's below freezing, a hailstorm will not occur. Hailstorms cause physical damage to buildings, but do not destroy them. The damaged buildings need to be repaired after the storm, and the money and resources for those repairs come from the residents taking away from their means that would usually go to building upkeep and leveling. So that can cripple your city pretty quickly, or even a neighborhood for that matter. A hailstorm can cause traffic accidents, which of course interrupts traffic flow. The citizens do not need to evacuate, but they prefer to stay indoors during a hailstorm. Obviously, who the heck wants to get pelted with ice? You know, typically hailstorms don't, at least I grew up in a really wintry, snowy place, and I don't remember ever getting hailstorms any time where it's below freezing. So this makes total sense. I don't know if that's just how the weather works. If anybody knows, let me know. But, typically I experience hailstorms when associated with tornadoes, which is the next part. Tornado, or at least weather that could produce or spin up a tornado. The tornado is the most extreme natural disaster included in City Skylines 2. It affects citizens, vehicles, and buildings, and causes serious damage to them as it moves through the city. The building can get damaged or even destroyed by the tornado. Citizens can get injured or die, and a lot of traffic accidents tend to happen in the area a tornado hits. Seems pretty obvious. The best way to prepare for an extreme natural disaster is by placing a small and large emergency shelters in your city so they are easily reachable for citizens. The early disaster warning system can spot approaching natural disasters and inform citizens earlier to go to shelters in time to avoid the disaster. The citizens will run to the shelters, and the large emergency shelter features evacuation buses that are deployed, and this is an important part, at the same time as the evacuation evacuation order. So as soon as you initiate that evacuation order, that's when the buses get deployed, right? But the evacuation buses will plan their path based on population density, prioritizing school, medical clinics, and hospitals. So in City Skylines 1, those evacuation buses, you had to draw the routes for. By the way they've worded this, you don't do that. They will just go where they need to pick people up. So, maybe adds a little bit less stress, I guess, and like planning and decision making on your side to help manage this stuff, which is actually pretty nice. So that's kind of the end of the dev diary. Next week, we'll dive into the nitty-gritty details of your city's economy and production. Now, I think next week's dev diary is going to be a lot longer, but let me know what you guys thought of this week's dev diary. Was it a little bit disappointing? Was it too short for you guys? Did you guys understand why it was maybe so short? And how do you guys feel about not seeing the map customization yet? Let me know down in the comments. And if you guys haven't checked out my build series again, check it out, please. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. I will see you guys on Thursday for the Dev Insight, and maybe we'll see even more information about climate and maybe some extra details that they didn't intend to show. Thank you guys for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. Deuces.